So I've been rewatching the old 1985 remake of the show The Twilight Zone, and I thought it would be much more fun than just to watch it, but actually rate each episode of one of my all-time favorite anthology series. I'm going to rate each episode on a scale. Let's call it the Serling scale. I like that. It's going to be a 1 to 5 Serling scale, and the main things I feel like scoring on are things like star power, who's in the episode, and what do they bring to the table. Chill factor. How eerie is the episode? Do I get a twist or a turn, or do I just have that chilling Twilight Zone feeling about it? And humor. Is there anything funny about the episode? A lot of the old episodes had a bunch of humor in them. And so I like to look for funny little jokes, and some are just fun to laugh at. So if you're a fan of the Twilight Zone in any installment of it, or just an anthology horror fan of any kind, you're going to love my wrap-up of the series. So let's dive right in. Episode 1, Part 1, Shatterday. Now, the whole first season of this series, the 1985 version, each episode's an hour long, but instead of having an hour episode, they have like different parts. So this one has 2 parts, and the first one, Shatterday. Bruce Willis is the main actor in this one. It was directed by Wes Craven, R.I.P. Wes Craven, and the teleplay by Alan Brennert, and it's based on a story by Harlan Ellison, R.I.P. Harlan. The premise of this episode is that Peter Novins, played by Bruce Willis, calls home to see about a lady friend, or something like that, but a man answers.
I'm sorry, I must have dialed the wrong number.
What number did you want?
Klondike 5, 6189.
This is Klondike 5, 6189.
There's a little confusion, but after a few minutes, the whole back and forth of who is this and who is that, we see that it's also him, Peter Novins, at his own apartment. The old life split. The old 1 person, 2 people episode.
Who are you? Peter Novins. Who are you? I'm Peter Novins.
These 2 sides of the same person battle it out over the phone throughout the episode. One stays in the apartment, the new one, I'd call the good one.
I know I'm me.
The other one tries to get him out. Back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, it's me. So, how'd you enjoy your first day being in my skin? Fine. How'd you enjoy your first day out of it?
Listen, friend, I've got your act covered.
The checking account is gone. No more groceries will be delivered. So you're gonna have to go out and get some food, and when you do, I will be there. You're a little late. I've already been out. I've got enough groceries to last through a siege.
Later you see what I call outside Peter is getting sick and weak. Then healthy new Peter comes in, and we see them face to face, which is kind of a cool 80s 2 people in the same room, same person kind of thing.
When I first got loose, I guess I was the shadow. Now I'm the self. Now I'm becoming the shadow.
And then you see Peter, old Peter, slowly fade away, and new Peter walks out into his new life. Bruce Willis is good in this one, but it's early Bruce Willis. Before this episode, he only had 4 acting credits, and 3 of them were quote-unquote uncredited. This episode does have a Twilight Zone feel, but I hate to say it, it's a weak first episode of this iconic remake. Part 2 of episode 1 is A Little Peace and Quiet, starring Melinda Dillon, and written by James Crocker, and also directed by Wes Craven, R.I.P. Wes Craven. This part is a little more in line with that classic Twilight Zone feel. This episode kind of starts out where you have this house full of chaos and noise, and a demanding family driving a mother totally bananas.
I'm sorry, but that's your territory. I'm sorry.
You don't have to fix it, Rob. Just turn it off, please. Thank you. I'm going to have to call that repairman.
Well, a little bit later, this woman digs up this necklace in a wooden box out in her yard. She's wearing it to the store, and then when she gets home and her crazy loud family's yelling and screaming at full volume, she yells, and then just like that, the whole world is frozen, like everyone. She is stunned for a moment. But like instead of freaking out like you or I would, what does she do? She uses her newfound power to go back to the grocery store and prank people.
51. Now. Oh, yeah. Here you go. Oh, do it.
After she's done pulling all her little pranks, she flirts with an idea of assaulting a handsome, frozen young fellow. This part kind of feels very 80s, but kind of a little funny. After she's gotten home in unfrozen times, she gets a knock at the door, and there's two solicitors standing there.
Hello. How are you today?
Hi. What do you want?
What does she do? She freezes them, puts them in her yard, lays them on their back.
Let's lie down.
You know, typical time-freezing pranks of the 80s.
There. Go down. Okay. Right.
Then, all of a sudden, this episode takes a very dark turn in a very Cold War fashion, and nuclear war starts.
Listen.
Be quiet.
What?
Come in.
We've just had a confirmation the first Soviet missile will reach the U.S. airspace in a matter of minutes.
What the?
There's this dramatic scene with this family holding tight, hugging, and crying right before this nuke is supposed to come down and hit near their home. It's kind of a chaotic scene. There's those sirens going off, the TV's blaring, the kids are crying. And again, she yells,
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up.
and time is frozen. Nuclear war averted. But she's the only one left moving around this otherwise frozen world. And that's how it ends. Personally, I would have just spent my time moving my family one by one up to some mountaintop away from all this harm of nuclear fallout, but they didn't get into any of that. And that's episode 1, 1985, Twilight Zone. I would rate this as follows. Star power, I give it a 3. 3 Sterlings. Bruce Willis being the only big name, but this was before he was big. But also it was directed by Wes Craven, one of the forefathers of 80s horror. Chill factor, I give it a 2. There were not really chilling episodes, except for the last scene, the one with Bruce Willis losing one side of himself, and the other one, the heartbreaking moment before the nuke impacts the Earth. And humor, I give it a 2. The first part, there was really no humor, but the second part, her playing her little pranks of the frozen people, that was actually kind of funny.